Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show. I am at a undisclosed Airbnb, or not Airbnb. I don't know why I was gonna say that. A WeWork. I wish I had an Airbnb. That'd be nice. Somewhere deep in the heart of New York City. So apologies if it doesn't sound as usual, or if it doesn't look as usual. But we are still committed to bringing you a new episode every week, and it's a big one because we got new iPhones. And Hartley, I think last week you teased us on whether or not
Mm.
you were actually going to get one. Did you in fact upgrade, or did you decide to hold off?
I have upgraded. So I've only had the device for about 48 hours at this point. So
All
I
right.
was a little bit later.
Show us your old one.
Oh, wait,
Okay.
no. This is my old one. And
You
this is
ruined,
my new one.
you ruined it, but also that works
But of
because you
course,
couldn't tell which one was
I
which.
can't tell. I can't tell the difference. So,
Oh, amazing.
there you go. I just can't do the new color options. White's too severe. Black's too severe. I don't do gold. So it's got to be natural again.
You
But
don't
it
do
does mean
gold,
that
eh?
on my desk, having these two devices, I do just pick up the wrong one. Um, so
You're gonna need to get rid of that 15.
it's just the way it's going this year. Um,
Yeah. I did go. I don't know if anyone can see this, but I did go Desert Titanium,
I thought that was the
aka
white one on
yeah, right.
camera. It
Well, the
looked
cam the
almost white to
camera,
me.
yeah, it's very subtle. Um, but I don't know, it's fine. I still have a week to decide whether I want to keep this color or not and switch to a black one. That's probably the one that I would do if I were to switch back because I had natural last year, so I don't want to do what you just did and get all confused on what's what. But let's talk about our impressions because that's kind of the whole point of this week's episode is go over the impression of every device that we have had a chance to test. So let's start with the main, I guess, star of the show because it's really one of the biggest differences. Camera control, kind of divisive. How do you feel about it?
Well, I was very excited to use it. I enjoyed playing around with it in the Apple Store when I went to pick up my iPhone. Uh, but I have to say, I don't like it.
Go on.
Um, I I just I don't really get it. Um, and the reason I don't get it is because first of all, let's break it down. So the first thing that you can use this for is to launch the camera app, um, which is all well and good, but I find that I hit this button accidentally when gripping my iPhone. And of course, with the action button, because it's toward the top of the device, you don't do that. But the camera control is right where you grip on the phone. So I find quite a few times I've hit it. Now, that has got better as time has gone, but I still find occasionally when I go and pick up the device, I accidentally activate it. So I feel like I'm kind of turning into you here, accidentally launching the
Hey
camera app.
now. Hey.
Um,
So I have a fix for that. Turn it into double click instead of single click. Because I was doing the same thing
yes.
naturally, and I changed it so now it requires a double click, and I really like that. I think that makes a lot more sense. The problem is my brain is still ingrained to use the action button, so you will see me every so often, maybe out in public, and I see a photo worthy event. You'll see me take my phone out and confidently do this, and it's really embarrassing. Basically, I'm just turning on my flashlight at people when I'm trying to take a picture of them. It's rough, but yeah, I mean, I kind of had divisive thoughts too because I was super excited for it, and then I got it, and I kind of with the Pro Max. If you have the Pro, right, the standard Pro,
Yeah, I decided not to go for the Pro Max after all.
okay. So I went Pro Max, and I just think it's too low, or the phone's too big, and it's just in a weird spot to like comfortably be able to use like all of the good features that it has, and like the double tap is still kind of a struggle. I'm getting better at it. It just takes some work. It really does. And
That's an interesting point, actually, because I noticed that in the Apple Store. One of the reasons I went for the smaller device was actually because I did not like handling the camera control on the Pro
yeah,
Max.
Yeah, I think I kind of wish. Well, I did get a Pro as well, but as far as what I'm dailying right now, it's just it's the bigger version, and yeah, I mean, it just I think it's just going to take some time. I don't want to give too early of thoughts of or like a review on it, but it's getting better. My first impressions, I was very disappointed, mostly just because it was so hard to use, and I was accidentally triggering it. And so, yeah, turning it into a double click definitely helps. I just got to train my brain into remembering that the action button was now for the flashlight, and I think it'll get better. But I mean, there's quite a few things you can do. Have you seen that third-party apps are now working with it? So I think I have Instagram and Moment. I can launch into those specific functions, which is pretty cool. So, what do you think about like the actual functionality? How's the like double tap, gesture been for you, the haptic portion of the button?
Um, this is actually where I think it gets even worse, um, because the idea of a dedicated button to launch the camera app, I can get on board with, because this frees up the action button, like you say. It effectively serves as another action button to launch the camera. But then in the actual camera app, I keep trying to make it work for me, but it is just slow. It is just slower than touching the screen, and it's quite significantly slower. So the way that I have set it up that I actually am most likely to use it is to switch between the different lenses, because I generally don't like zooming. I prefer to just go to one of those 4 different focal length options and stick to that. And then if I want to crop in later, I can do, but I know I'm making the most of the sensor. So I always prefer to do that rather than zoom. Likewise with exposure, I would prefer to do that by touching the screen. I'm not going to adjust things like portrait mode with the camera control either. So for me, it is about switching between the cameras. Now, to actually swipe on here and get it to the feeling exactly right to get to the exact right one, by the time I've done it and I'm looking at the control, a few extra seconds have passed when I can just touch the screen.
Yeah,
Um,
especially if you're trying to get a photo right away of something, like you probably already missed it.
it is significantly slower than using the screen for any of the functions that are currently available in the camera app. And that also strikes me as bizarre. It is far less responsive than I thought it would be. And the way that you have to kind of invoke it with this light press, and I have actually changed mine because it was annoying me, so that I have to do a slightly heavier press, because again, I was accidentally activating it, because I found when I am taking a photo with my phone in portrait, of course, my fingers are touching the button, which meant that I was activating it accidentally and sliding between lenses accidentally. That has got better since I've adjusted those settings in accessibility, but it just seems bizarre that out of the box, this feature does not work great. I should not have to go into accessibility settings right away and be adjusting these things just so that I'm not pressing it accidentally and it's not messing up my photos.
I feel like those should also be settings that are not exclusively under accessibility, because I think most people wouldn't know where to find that. And so it should just be under the main
I didn't
camera
know where to
control
find them.
function.
I thought
Yeah,
they would be under camera control, but they're not. They're buried.
yeah. Shameless plug, but I just did a video based on one of our guides. So you can go check out the guide or you can go check out my video, but basically going over all of this stuff so that it's easy for you to find and be able to do what you need to do. Because, like Hartley said, I also had no idea until I decided to make this video and did some research. Um, it's rough. Like it's not as intuitive as you might think, but I do think it could get better, and I do find it at the end of the day, at the very least, it's still very useful for at least launching the camera app, taking a photo, and taking a quick video. I
Well, that
I
brings me
used
to
it
my
for that.
third complaint.
Oh
My
no, here
third
we go.
complaint is
Here we
actually
go.
taking photos, because you would think that it is easier to press a button to take a photo. But actually, I was quite surprised by the amount of force needed to press the button. Now, what that means is when I click the button, the phone shakes. And so I am adding shake to any photo that is just not there when I just tap the screen really gently. So I'm not even going to actually use this to take a picture,
So
because
is it just
every
a
single time it's like the force of pressing the button makes you kind of move the phone down a little.
so is it just a glorified camera
action button.
launching button for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
And that is so disappointing. I thought that it would be that there would be more of a sense of a half press and then a full press, and it wouldn't require that much pressure to actually activate the shutter. But it's almost like one of the volume buttons, but maybe it's even harder to press than a volume button. Um, and I just don't feel like it's very steady. And even if you're operating it like this, or like this in portrait mode, your thumb looks kind of weird in a picture. If you're taking like a mirror selfie or something, like this looks odd.
Yeah.
So why would you not just touch the screen?
Well, maybe it'll become the new, the new normal. Like, I don't know.
But even then, with like the shake, I just,
Yeah.
it's like it requires too much pressure.
I think if you go into the picture knowing that you're going to use this, it's not as hard. But if you like pull out your phone, you're like, oh, I want to take a picture. It's like it's harder to fumble, get your arm down, then do it, double tap, take a picture. There's a little bit of a shake. You're right. I mean, we do have good stability in these lenses,
I
which
will
is
say
nice.
it hasn't made the photos look worse to my eye, but I
Look,
don't
there's
like
us.
I don't like the feeling of it. I don't like the sense that the phone is shaking because it puts
Yeah.
me off. Because what if one day that does blur up my photo a little bit, and that was my one chance to capture a good photo? So why introduce that? Why can't I just touch the screen?
I hear you.
There is nothing that
Um,
this is doing that I can't do just by touching the screen.
so what's your final thoughts on the camera button before we move on?
Um, I think it is bafflingly bad, and I don't understand. I just don't understand it. It's actually I would go as far as to say, in terms of new iPhone features, I think it is possibly the strangest feature that I have seen introduced to the iPhone, maybe ever, because it does not seem to actually do any of the three things it is supposed to do well at all.
Would you like it better if it wasn't a combo of haptic and physical button? Would it just be better if it was like, okay, clicks based on the app that you're in?
What do you mean?
Well, because like I feel like getting to some of these other functions and stuff, that's where the haptic portion comes in, and you got to get that gesture just right. What if it's like, okay, you double tap, you launch yourself, or you single tap, you launch yourself into the camera app. Then there's a whole different set of, double, single, triple tap gestures. Just it's all consistently one button press as opposed to making it, oh, but you got to light press if you want to do this, and then you got to swipe if you want to do this, like just it all
I
being
don't. I
consistent.
don't mind that. I actually don't mind the way that it has been imagined to work, but I just don't think it actually works like that in practice because, as I say, you don't have a sense of a half press because that is purely haptic. So effectively, it is a one-stage button. That is all it actually feels like to your finger. So the half press is kind of a half-baked experience,
Yeah.
um, and simultaneously the gestures are slow. So I don't actually mind the gestures. I don't mind the idea of a half press, but the gestures have to not be slow, and you actually have to feel something from the half press. And then I would go further than that, and I would actually say when you are having a full press, it needs to not require so much force because this shake is off-putting. And maybe that's just my hands. That's why it's interesting to see that you kind of have perceived the same thing, and it's a really subtle thing, but it's just a little off-putting.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, I do think a lot of it changes if you hold your phone like this. I do think it's a little bit easier to do some of this stuff, but not by much, surprisingly.
I still get just a little bit of shake. And even
Uh,
then, I find I'm focusing on the button so much.
yeah.
Well, am I pressing it hard enough? Let me look up at those controls that pop down. Oh, and I'm not even looking at the picture I'm actually taking because I'm so distracted by this button that is not actually doing anything that is unique.
I will say I've gotten better at getting the double tap light or the light like double gesture to work, but it's swiping that still seems really slow and really hard. I almost wish there was like a scroll wheel of some sort that you could kind of just
Yes,
easily.
a physical wheel would
Yeah.
be so much more intuitive. But of course, this is the issue with this button when we actually get to the concept of it, because I'm complaining about two separate things here. I'm complaining that when I'm in holding my phone in portrait, it's too easy to press the button. But when I'm holding it in landscape, it's too hard to press the button.
Yep.
So how can you win if it's not responding differently in different modes? And then should it be that it only enables in landscape mode? It's getting
I think it's
really complicated.
I think it's a nice try. I like the quote unquote innovation here. I like the attempt. If it can't get any better or make any sense, I am all for just bringing the power button down just a little bit, making the power button or the side button, whatever you want to call it, and then programming it some way to make it the camera button as well. I know you double tap
Well, it could
for
be capacitive.
Apple Pay, yeah, so that's probably how you'll do it. But just make it all in one. I don't think we need another one, and I just
It's
think
the
it should
location of
be.
it that is an issue.
It is. And that's why I'm saying bring it down a little bit. Bring it to where, I mean, there's tests. I think everybody's hand probably rests pretty close to where mine would be, at least their thumb. So, I mean, that it's like just below where the actual side button is. So I feel like if you just bring the side button down just a little bit, it's like a little bit like the middle between where the camera control is and where the side button is now. I think that's like the sweet spot.
And
But
interestingly, a lot of the reviews seem to have picked up on this. I don't think we're alone in feeling this way. And most of the people I've talked to that have picked up a device since launch day have said largely the same thing, that they really liked the idea of it, but then they've come to use it and they find they're triggering it accidentally, or that it just simply is not useful. Um, it's odd, something like the action button is useful because it's just a simple button. It's out of the way and you make it do what you want. So you can make it just activate the flashlight like you do. Or for me, I have it to add a new task to my things inbox.
yeah,
But with something as specific as this camera control, what is it doing for me? It's not doing anything that I can't achieve another way more quickly. The action button lets me do things more quickly.
I would say the launching of the camera is really the best thing for it.
Yeah,
That's about
because
it.
it just frees up the action button. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all it does. But
yeah,
even then, that is only useful to me when I'm actually in the system somewhere. Because, of
yeah.
course, from your lock screen, you can just swipe across, even if you want to free up one of those lock screen controls. So it isn't actually quicker for that. And I would argue, potentially, considering you can now customize Control Center, I dare say you could get to the camera app pretty much nearly as quickly from the Control Center if you really wanted to. So I don't even know how useful it is at that. I think it
Well,
is
I'm going to
pretty
remain
pretty
cautiously.
poorly conceived.
I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic about its future. Um, Anything that you have been really enjoying or that you were surprised about with your new phone?
Uh, no, not really. I have to say that um, I have been enjoying the better battery life. Now that hasn't really surprised me, but the battery life on my old 15 Pro was terrible. We have talked about this. I have to use various MagSafe batteries just to get me through the day if I go out for the day. That has already been substantially better on the 16 Pro. The smaller device actually has the biggest physical battery size increase of all of the lineup this year. It is nearly 10% bigger in this device compared to this one. So when you add the efficiency improvements, that has been substantially better. I also think it gets a little bit less hot. I've noticed that as well.
Yeah.
And I have been enjoying the new ultra wide camera. Now, I don't know how often I actually will use that, but I have made a point of testing it, and it does look considerably better to my eye with that 48 megapixel sensor.
I've taken some pictures, but I have not reviewed them entirely. So we'll be doing that soon. Stand by for that video. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything that I've really been enjoying on the new phone that I couldn't already do on my last one, to be honest. Uh, it's
I mean,
sad, but
there is an
I
extra
don't
one
really.
for me. There is an
Oh
extra
wait,
one for me, which is the 5X telephoto.
that's true for
Um,
you.
because anyone that is a user of the smaller device, of course, did not have that last year. We were still with the 3X, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
But I actually find the 5X is already proving more useful to me. It's not great for portrait photos when you're actually taking a portrait of a person, but I find it is better for most other situations. And it does look just a little bit crispier as well. I'm enjoying the photos that I'm getting out of that. So that is also another upgrade. I've also played
So
around with the new photographic styles as well.
yeah, those are
Um,
nice.
and those actually really are quite nice. The black and white one in particular, the way that it kind of it takes into account depth information and it takes
Mhm.
into account texture in photos. Um, you get a much more rich look than you would do just from a filter. Now, the only annoying thing about this is you can only test it out with photos you have actually shot on this device, and you can only enable it on photos that you can only enable it on the iPhone, as far as I'm aware. You can't do that from the Photos app on a Mac. So when it comes to actually editing your pictures, if I wanted to get a consistent look for, I don't know, like an Instagram carousel or something, if one of those photos has not been shot with an iPhone 16, I'm not going to be able to do that. So
Why
that
is
is a little
that?
bit of a shame.
Is that something to do with the photo processing power,
I think it
or
is just a ring
or
fenced
is it
feature.
just a, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, just trying to give a little more
I don't see why
exclusivity?
that can't be available on last year's
That's what
devices.
I was
Last
trying to.
year,
Yeah,
they had basically, they call this one the fusion camera and they call this one the main camera. They are the same camera.
right.
They are the exact same piece of hardware. So there is no reason, really. And you're not telling me that it's a processing issue, because the A17 Pro is already an incredibly powerful chip. So um,
Yeah,
that is an arbitrary change. But I mean, I'm glad to have a new device. I am aware that it is slightly bigger. I didn't know how much of a difference that would make to me, but I am aware of it. I actually don't like it very much. I feel like I was more comfortable with the smaller device. Um, but I do like the slimmer bezels. That also is another noticeable change. So maybe I don't like the screen size, but I do like the slimmer bezels.
I don't know that I like. It didn't take me very long to get used to this size, to where I was thinking that it's the same as the 15 Pro Max. Even when I pick up the 15 Pro Max, I'm like, yeah, it feels the same. So honestly, I think the new stops there. I will say, I'm not using this all the time, but I did use it for our hands-on and first impressions of the Pro lineup video that we did on Friday, and I shot the entire thing using the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max, and I can get some really good B-roll just by
Use
using
the
the
15
4K.
Pro or the 16 Pro.
What did I say?
You said the 15 Pro.
My bad. I used the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. I had to cycle on and off so that I can shoot myself. I did everything in that video that you see, unless otherwise noted, was shot with the iPhone 16 Pro or Pro Max. And I will say that the 4K 120 gets you some good B-roll. I like it. It's very stable, very smooth. Um, the audio mix was good. I think I might have tweaked the dial a little too much, and people were like, "Ah, this sounds like you're inside of a tin can." So I should have let. It wasn't that much more that I kind of gave a little bit more studio isolation to. So maybe I just leave it at the default, or maybe even dial it down just a little bit. But there was so much echo in that room. I wish people could have heard the before and after. I should have done that in that video. I did it in other videos, but not that one. I mean, it's cool that I could very well just use this for some good B-roll. I mean, and shoot an entire video on it, and I don't even need a mic. I could use these mics on here. They're really good.
I've been taking some voice memos and I can already
Yeah,
hear the difference on the newer device. They just sound, well, they kind of sound like I'm using this microphone actually. When Apple
it's
says they are
crazy.
studio quality, they are actually really
They
good.
might, yeah. You could do a podcast on there, and I don't think anybody would really notice or care. I think it would be acceptable enough to be able to get through. We should do that sometime. We should do that next week. Do our entire
Yeah.
podcast using the voice memos microphone, or using the microphone in voice memos. But all right, so that's the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max. Would love to hear if anybody else kind of feels the same way as us, or maybe you're coming from something. Most of you are probably coming from something more substantial of an upgrade feeling. So you're probably coming from like a 13 or a 12, maybe even a 14 might feel a little bit, but I would say that 12 to 13 range is a good sweet spot. What about the Series 10? Did you pick one up, or have you had a chance to look at it? I'm wearing mine right now.
So I've had a good look at them. I haven't actually picked one up yet, mainly because I just have not been able to decide what finish and what watch band I want to go for this year, because I'm quite tempted by the jet black, but I've had the stainless steel for years, so do I go for titanium? I have an Apple Watch Hermes right now, so do I want to do that again? Because that's the only way now to get the silver casing. So all these questions have been fizzing around in my mind, and that's why I've not picked one up so far. But I will do, because I think I am going to go for the jet black this year.
Nice.
And I have been more sold by it actually, seeing it in person. And I know that everyone said to me that I was crazy when I said that the Series 10 was a substantially different design. But I stand by it. When I looked at it in the Apple Store, it, to my eye, does look substantially different. It's substantially more curved. It feels a lot thinner. It feels a lot lighter. The speaker is different. The digital crown looks different. Just the aspect ratio of the display being a little bit more square looks significantly better. And since then, when I've been looking at my Series 8, I actually don't like that more rectangular display. I'm wanting the Series 10. So I think it is quite a big difference.
All right, so let me put some disclaimers here. I was exclusively using the Ultra for what, 2 years now? We had two generations. I have not used a regular watch since then, or a regular Apple Watch since then. I put this on. I've been using it for the last, since Friday. I don't notice any differences from what I remember a regular Apple Watch used to be. I will say that the digital crown feels like tighter, like a little bit more stiff to turn. I don't know if that's just I'm used to the digital crown on the Ultra or if there was a change there, but it does feel a little bit more like stiff and kind of like just a little like tighter, just a little more precision when you're swiping through or scrolling through. Um, I got the Milanese loop, but I took it off for today. I like it. I think it's good.
Did you
Uh,
get the titanium or the jet black?
the titanium black, so it's like the slate. What do you think of the look? I mean, I know it's through the webcam of my MacBook Air, but I mean, looks like a normal watch to me, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know if I'm going to continue this or go to the um, back to the Ultra. I think the battery life is kind of an issue. We'll see, because I'm charging it to 80, and I've noticed that I have come up on every night definitely need a charge, whereas not the same with my Apple Watch Ultra. I could go from 80 to like 40 and still have enough to go through the next day. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see where I'm at. I do love the smaller form factor though right now. I'm just loving that, like just smaller, less obtrusive, um, just just a good size.
It must feel a lot thinner to you. You must notice
Oh,
it's
it
like
does.
catching on your sleeves a lot less.
Significantly. Yeah. Significantly thinner. I just like don't notice that it's there as much as I did with the Ultra. The Ultra, you definitely know you have a big old square thing on your wrist, that's for sure. And then you put this on and you really don't recognize it as much. Did you
Yeah.
get anything else?
No, I did not. I checked out the AirPods 4,
Okay.
which I'm very tempted by, but of course I actually am not sure what the noise cancellation is like, because Apple says that the AirPods Pro 2, which I use all the time, I'm using them right now, um, have 2 times better active noise cancellation. But it's hard for me to actually imagine what half the noise cancellation would actually be like.
So I can tell you, I'm wearing it right now. I can tell you what half of that is, and I feel like it's mostly just because these don't go further into your ear, you don't have that tighter seal. And I feel like, and I'm sure there's other things that they're accounting for, but in my mind, that's where I feel like I'm losing about half of the noise cancellation. But I will say it's pretty good for being just on the part of my ear here where it's not fully in the ear canal. The sound is incredible from the AirPods 3 to the AirPods 4. That H2 chip really does make a difference with the audio processing. It's pretty good. Um, I think it's pretty much on par with the AirPods Pro, honestly. There's really no difference in audio quality. Maybe having a tighter fit might give you a little bit more low end, might help separate a little bit. But I think this sounds really, really good. And so if you could get away with half of the noise cancellation and you like this fit, I don't know why you should go pro. I mean, there are other features that you are going to be getting, especially all the hearing stuff. That could be huge. But like for me, just listening to music, using them when on the go, I guess battery life has been really good with these so far. I have not charged them at all. I've been using them almost every day. I just really like them so far. So that's just me. These were my favorite ones, and I just wish they had transparency and and now they do. So I don't know.
What is your perception of how the fit has changed? Because Apple talks a lot about how they effectively went back to the sort of narrower design, a little bit more like the AirPods One and AirPods Two. The AirPods 3 were much larger. Do you feel they're more comfortable, or do you not really notice any difference?
Honestly, I don't notice a difference. Right now, I'm having some ear pain from my flight in. I'm just a little congested if you don't already know. So I think that is causing some discomfort right now. I just think there's a lot of pressure going on. But no, for the last few days before all of this started for me, I really couldn't notice any difference. Maybe they're like a little bit more snug, like a little tighter in the ear, so that they kind of latch on a little bit better. But no, I don't really think there's that much of a difference, to be honest. And maybe I just can't tell. And maybe some of you out there who have had some bad luck with the previous models should try this and at least let us know if you've noticed any huge differences or not. Um, what else came out? Oh, AirPods Max. I did pick up a pair just for the sake of color and
Which color?
USB-C. So I got orange and starlight because I didn't end up liking the orange. So I'm going to return that one. But we did get the starlight. I like that one a lot, to be honest with you. Um, it's just a clean, it kind of goes with the phone a little bit of a subtle hint of like whitish gold there. But I haven't used AirPods Max in a long time. And so putting them on made it just like, it felt new to me, even though I know these are the exact same. I don't know. They sound really good. That was never really an issue. It's just everything else that needs to be updated. It is kind of a shame that we're kind of getting gypped here, and I don't know when the next version is actually going to come. Are they actually calling these AirPods 2, or do they just not say that at all? AirPods Max 2? They're not calling
No, I
these
don't think
second
so.
gen.
I don't think so. I
Okay.
mean, bear in mind the AirPods Pro 2. There have been two versions of that device. We have the Lightning version and the USB-C version,
So they just
and
call it
actually,
USB-C, maybe?
that had more different
Yeah.
than these do.
Yeah, didn't they have like lossless audio attached to it, stuff like
Yes.
that? Yeah, that's wild. You couldn't even give us anything like that. That's crazy. I'm guessing that's H2 chip related. How does the AirPods 4 get? Let's not go back down this. I don't want to go back down this again because I'm going to get angry. But yeah, I mean, they were that the sound quality, the noise cancellation when on a plane and stuff like that was never really an issue. It's just it's outdated. It needs some of those other features that the pros have, and I'm sad that it hasn't happened yet, and I hope it comes soon, but I don't know.
I mean, we've heard no rumors about the next generation AirPods Max. Not one. Not a
That's
single report.
crazy.
And that is unusual, considering that. So we already have rumors about what to expect from the iPhone 18. We know
Yeah.
about M5 MacBook Pros. We know all kinds of things about upcoming devices. We know a lot about what to expect from the AirPods Pro 3, even though they're still a year away. And there is not a single word about the next generation AirPods Max. Nothing. And that would suggest to me that they are going to be around for a while longer, because otherwise Apple wouldn't have updated them.
That's insane.
And if you think about it with the AirPods Max, with the AirPods Pro, Apple put USB-C on that effectively 2 years before they are going to release the AirPods Pro 3. So maybe we are still 2 years away from the next generation AirPods Max at minimum.
Whew, that's a real. Do we have anything like good to end on? That's a real bummer of an show note here to end on. I don't love that. Is there anything else? Anything happy that we can say about these new
Uh,
devices?
well, I am happy with my decision to upgrade, even though it is
Okay.
very small.
Yeah,
Um,
especially for
and
you.
I didn't actually have to. I mean, let's be
No,
honest here. It's not a massive difference,
no.
but I will enjoy the telephoto. I will enjoy photographic styles, and I definitely am enjoying the longer battery life.
Yeah.
So that is enough for me for now. Maybe the camera control will grow on me. And in the next week or so, I hope to pick up a Series 10, and I will enjoy that larger display size. I will enjoy all the features that I didn't get from having the Series 9 last year. So I'm still running this old chip, which is effectively the same chip in the Series 8 as it was in the Series 6. So I will look forward to that, and also just have a nice visual change with that new jet black finish, which I think is really nice.
One more thing to touch on the Series 10. I did start using the speaker when I've been going on some walks and stuff by myself, and it's actually pretty good. It's loud enough to be able to hear what you need to be doing. If you want to listen to some, podcast, radio, whatever, some music, it doesn't sound terrible, especially at high volumes. So, that is an option for those who just want something, kind of low key in the background and don't want to take AirPods or maybe forgot your AirPods and a phone might be too loud for the situation that you're in. So that is a cool little feature, but it also, the biggest thing is sleep apnea, and I could do that on an Apple Watch Series 9 or an Ultra 2, and so it's kind of also just boring if you've had anything recently. But this is not always for us. There are plenty of people out there still running an Apple Watch Series 6. I think my wife is still on a Series 6, or Series 7, somewhere around there. She's due for an upgrade for sure. Plenty of people who have iPhone 11 that were asking me like, should I upgrade? And at first, I immediately say, no, 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 wait till the 17. And then I'm like, wait, what phone do you have? And they're like, oh, an 11. I'm like, okay, never mind. Just go ahead and upgrade now if you can't make it. I'm like, if you can definitely wait a year, then do it. But if you're like even remotely on the fence, just go ahead and update. You'll be super happy. There will be so many differences over the last few years that you didn't get yet, plus what you get this year. So, and then Apple Intelligence is coming, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about that because it's not here yet. It's still in beta. So again, we'll go over everything once it's officially out for everybody again. But if you did upgrade, if you did get anything on launch day this past Friday, please let us know in the comments, email, Twitter, Instagram, all of that stuff, and let us know what you got and how you're liking it so far. Hartley, anything to say before we sign off here?
No, I think that's it from me.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll catch everybody in the next episode.